Welcome, guys, to another episode of The Stitch Life. So, today we are going to be going over leather everything. And when I say everything, I do mean leather everything, okay? So, just want to give myself what they call a little housekeeping rules. So, as far as our housekeeping rules go, I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't like leather, and really, kind of targeted towards, being animal killers and stuff like that. I'd like you to know that a lot of people who produce leather, the animals die of natural causes. So it is not a bad thing for you to utilize leather in your garments. It's actually very sustainable because faux leather is made of PVC and polyurethane and all of these different chemicals that don't break down. So there is nothing wrong with the use of leather. And we have to go above and beyond and think about what does leather come from? It comes from cows. So we're talking about people who eat like beef and people who eat steak and stuff like that. So they're killed for food purposes, but they are not killed to get leather, just so you guys know, okay? Because we're just doing the skin and the hairs and stuff like that, which that stuff grows back. Another thing to note as well is that you can't escape leather. It's on your shoes, it's in your cars, it's on your furniture, like it's honestly everywhere. So you can't really escape not using leather at all unless you're going to walk around with like Crocs all day, as our producer so adequately put it, which is super funny. So yeah, no, you'll have to get in tune with leather. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go over all the different types, but I'm actually just going to turn up my lighting a little bit here. Yeah, perfect. So that's way better. Now, let's talk, okay? So first thing is, I've recommended this book multiple times. This is Fabrics A to Z, okay? So Fabrics A to Z is going to teach you exactly how to sew leather and different things. So I'm just going to read a little excerpt from here just so you guys get the sew. I'm going to get the sewing tips out of the way really quick. So leather, of course, is sold by the square foot rather than the yard. Some shops sell scraps, which is our ideal for testing or making sample leather accessories. Leather does not have a grain, but it stretches less in the length of a hide than the width, okay? The center of the skin is typically the most attractive part of the hide if there is a visible pattern. When sewing, you need to use a sharp or leather needle. Universal needles will work as well, but leather needles help the fabric move more smoothly as you sew. Needles will pierce and cut through the leather or suede as you sew, so a longer stitch is recommended as small stitches may cause the leather to tear. Now, avoid using a walking foot as this can actually scratch the skin, and then hold pieces of leather together with paper clips or small clips. Do not use sewing needles because it will pierce the leather. And of course, when using thick leathers or skins, sew them butted together. So that means edges to edges, don't fold them, and then you'll use a zigzag stitch to actually connect them. All right. Another thing to use a flat lock or zigzag when necessary. Hand sewing pieces together using a plain stitch or a feather stitch or a zigzag stitch, and always test or sew a scrap piece first. Okay, so this book breaks down a little bit more down to the type of needles to use and all of that good stuff. So that is the first recommendation. All right. Okay, now let's talk. So first, what I have over here is suede. Now, of course, suede is, of course, a form of leather. All right. A lot of times when you get leather, it'll always have a suede backing on the other side. Okay. So this is one of my favorite suppliers. It's called Grupo Mastro, and they have a ton of suede covers. Okay. Now, suede comes in thickness and different types of thicknesses. It just kind of depends on what it is that you're trying to make. So these are all the different colors that it comes in. But one thing I love about suede is that it's really easy to emboss. So this right here is also from Grupo. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. These are all different types of embossing. So you can literally buy some suede and get it a customized emboss with whatever color you buy it in. So these are just different ones that you can utilize. So let's say you wanted more of a snakeskin pattern or you just wanted something different. These are some amazing embossing techniques that will be great for suede. Now, suede can be used in a lot of different type of garments. Honestly, it can be used in apparel. It can be used in bags. It can be used for belts. It can be used for hats. You name it, you can use suede for it. So if you're looking for more of a softer effect, suede is the way to go. However, suede does not clean well. Suede does get dirty fast. So if you are making suede garments, I would definitely suggest that it not be an everyday bag because of how dirty it can get. And the same way with like your shoes too. Like if you have suede boots and suede shoes, always get a suede protector and a suede cleaner because suede is very hard to get clean. There's also a little thing called a suede brush that you would use. You probably wouldn't be using a cloth to clean it. You're going to be using a brush and you're going to go in a circular manner in order to keep it or try to keep it clean. But I definitely suggest that using a suede protector before even your first wear, okay? So this one right here is called the Orlando colors. That's the one I just showed you. Now this one is specified for belt color. So this one has a little bit more of a thickness to it. The thickness is a 1.2 to a 1.4 millimeter. So this is something that you use for belts, whereas for clothes, we're only going to be using you can use actually we can go a little bit lighter for clothes. Clothes, we're going to use more of a 1.1 millimeter. Now, for bags, for thickness, it's good to use a 1.4 to a 1.6 millimeter. That's a really, really good one for bags. So I'll just run that back. 1.1 to 1.3 for apparel. For belts, you're going to want to use a 1.2 to a 1.4. And then for shoes or heavy or thick bags, you're going to use a 1.4 to a 1.6. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. And this right here is an example of a 1.1 to a 1.3. So very thin, can be sewn on an industrial sewing machine, can be sewn on a heavy duty machine with a leather kneader and a Teflon foot as well. Okay, so this is very good option for that, right? So let's move on. Let's talk about lamb, okay? Sorry, before I hop into lamb really quick, just back on suede, this is a pigskin suede. So this is also really great for clothes. This is actually literally 1 millimeter. So it's very, very, very thin. So shorts or even like tops or something like that, this is a very, very thin pigskin. So you can use that. So this is great as well for apparel. So just remember pig. And I can give you an exact name. They actually call it Patongana, which is just a silky pig suede. And you can actually get this one from Global Leathers. They're located right here in New York. So you might want to check out Global Leathers, okay? All right, so that's suede. Now we're going to get into lamb. Lamb is by far the most popular, and there is a lot of types of lamb. So I have a lot of kind of spread out on this table here. So let's start with, so many to choose from. Let's go with this one. All right, so right here is what they call a caprice lamb. And I'll show you a bigger piece. Very lightweight, has a suede backing on it. It's definitely something that can be used in apparel again. So this is called caprice lamb. I like this the most, honestly, for apparel because it's very, very lightweight and very easy to work with. You can use this on your home sewing machines or your heavy duty machines, and it's just easy to work with. I really like it really, really a lot. This one you could get from United Leather, also located in NYC. So that is caprice. Now this one here is, what is this? Let's take a look. Denver cow? Hold on. Oh no, that's suede. Sorry. This is lamb. And what type is this? This is Roxy cow. So this is also a different type of lamb. So there's also Napa lamb. I'm going to show you a bigger version of that. These are all Napa lambs. So same soft, but they have a tiny bit of a texture to them as well. So you got caprice. This is very, very, very thin. And then you have Napa that is like a step up, so a little bit heavier. And it has somewhat of a texture to it as well. Now, there are Napa lambs that don't have texture to them. This is one of them. It just depends on the supplier and the state of the animal in which they actually got it from. So there is mills all over the world that have different types of lamb. I love Napa as well. It literally feels like butter. We are going to cut to a commercial break, and I'm going to go over a very cool lamb leather that's actually washable. Okay, so see.
Rise, entrepreneur. Take that first step towards freedom. So long to the old routine. Welcome to your new venture. There's an industry that needs disrupting. Ideas you should be challenging. It takes courage to do what you love. We'll help you begin your journey. As a business like you, dedicated to you, we can take on tomorrow together with a business account you could open today. Entrepreneurs across the UK. Start your business with Tide.
Start your business with Tide. I hear that. All right, so we are back. So one of my favorite, and I mean ultimate favorite, lambs of all time is washable stretch lamb. Washable and stretchable. It comes from Italy. It is amazing. Do you see that? You see that stretch? Perfect for leggings or like shorts. You could do it in a really, really nice dress. But I love it because most of the time, leather is always dry clean only. So this is a rare supplier that has washable stretch leather, which honestly, you could sell this garment for so much. Doesn't even matter what it is. I have like two different colors right here. This is just like a taupe, and then this is more of like a grayish color. And I just love it because of the stretch and how lightweight it is and how easy it is to sew. It's so bomb. I've loved it. I've used it for a couple of different clients in leather jackets, like a lightweight leather jacket for the fall and for the spring. And I've also done a pair of leggings with it before, and I've also done a skirt with it before, and it was immaculate. And the designer actually sells the jacket for $900 and sells out of them all of the time. And the leggings she sells for like $800, and she sells out of them all the time. Okay, so check them out. All right, so now, the one that is the most, I feel like people see a lot more, and that is a tad bit more expensive, is cowhide. So there are a lot of different types of cowhide as well. But before I pop into cowhide, I'm just going to show you a couple more lambs. So this right here is a Barello lamb. Now I'm going to get a little bit closer because a Barello lamb has a like a texture to it that looks sort of like a wave. So this is Bolero lamb. Now, I had another one on here that I wanted to show you. Is it this one? Yes. So this one is oh no, that's the Caprice lamb. I already showed you that one. Got so much on the table. Here's the other one. So this one is another version of a lamb, and this one is a Torino lamb. So Torino is not that different from Bolero. What's really different is the textured surface. So this one, as you can see, the surface is extremely textured. And then as you can see on the Torino lamb, you're getting more of a smooth one. Now, as far as price goes, a Barello is going to be a little bit more than Torino or like your basic Napa. So these are all three, and you can get these items from United Leathers. Okay. Now, let's pop into cowhide. All right. Now, cowhide probably has some of the most variations. You'll see a lot of cowhide in like your favorite handbags. Most of your favorite handbags are made of cowhide. So, Givenchy, Prada, actually, Chanel uses a lot of lamb, so she actually doesn't even use that much cowhide. But like Longchamp, Yves Saint Laurent, a lot of them use those. Okay, so this is just an example of a textured one. So this is a textured one. Now, one of my favorites is probably metallic. I don't use it a lot just because I think it is very seasonal based for myself. But if you are a designer and you love metallic lambs, here's one. I actually have a bigger one for you so you can see what it looks like on a huge scale. So can you imagine making a bag out of like this, like metallic? And then the inside, of course, has a suede backing. So it's like very, very smooth, like on the other side. Looks really, really, really cool. Now, this one, a cowhide, is the one that is slightly harder to sew on your home sewing machines just because it's thicker. And even with the leather needle, it can just be very, very challenging because of this thickness. I really do recommend that you use a leather working machine for cowhide. And a lot of times, cowhide is not used in apparel. Cowhide is used in belts, it is used in hats, it's used in small SLGs, it's used in bags and in shoes. So very, very rarely will you actually be able to, you can sew it, don't get me wrong, you can make a cowhide, because you can use cowhide for like a heavyweight jacket or whatever, but it's still very, very hard to sew on a home sewing machine for a beginner. So if you're new to the leather working world, I definitely think that you should focus in on trying to use lamb and getting acquainted with lamb before moving to cowhide. Now, if you go on Amazon, in our link in our bio, there is a couple recommendations for like leather working tools. And some of the things you might have to hammer. So it's good to have all of like the leather punching tools and hammers and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend that you get all leather working tools. One of my favorite places to get leather working tools from is the Buckle Guide. I love the Buckle Guide. They're online. They're a great resource for even buying scraps, buying full whole, like full skins of leather. And they actually have a lot of materials, and they actually focus on hardware more, which we always need when we are making bags and belts and stuff. We need buckles and rivets and screws and D-rings. So definitely check out the Buckle Guide. Now, I'm going to show you a couple different ones here. So this one, and and this one isn't even cowhide. This is a castle lamb. Sorry, it just has like hardware already on it, but this is really dope too. You can check this out at United Leather. But back to the cowhide. This is like the glitter one. And there's different weights too, because this one's actually pretty thin. You could possibly get away with sewing on a sewing machine, but I really honestly wouldn't try. I would let a professional deal with cowhide, just because you don't want to mess it up, especially considering how expensive that it actually is. So you check that out. It looks really, really cool. All right, and then let's move to Grupo. So they actually specialize in cowhide. So these are all their different cowhide options and all of their different cowhide books. So this one right here is Pronta, and it has a textured surface to it as well. I'll show you what it looks like on a bigger scale. It's kind of hard to see the small little squares, but this is what it looks like on a bigger scale. All right. And this is a suede backing. I actually have quite a few bags out of this. My Jalisa bag comes in this leather, as well as my Joan bag. This is probably one of my favorites, and I just love blue. And they literally have every color that you can think of. So there's a lot of options here. I even have bags out of this. They call this Bruco. I call it chartreuse, but it's really, really cool. So when making handbags, you might want to think about that, the thickness of the leather doesn't really matter, because cardboard is going to go on the inside anyway. But with lamb, you're going to have an even heavier cardboard, because it's very, very soft. Now, I prefer that when I do lamb bags, it is more of a softer leather bag. So I tend to only use that and maybe a lining. But it would, if you want to do a more structured bag with lamb, it is possible. It just requires a lot more infrastructure on the inside. Okay. And then I have some really cool shimmery metallics here, kind of like what I showed you. So the thing is, and a couple things that you should know, when you are pattern making for leather goods, it needs to be on oak tag. And the reason why it needs to be on oak tag is because you have to think about it. The white paper is too thin, and like the craft paper is also too thin, where it has to be placed onto a skin. So for example, let me actually just move some of this out of the way. If it's a pattern piece is being placed onto a skin, it needs to be able to stay flat the entire time. And paper has a tendency to be slippery and move, but the oak tag is perfect for laying on here. And then you're not using scissors a lot of times to cut leather. You're using like an Exact, something similar to an X-Acto knife, kind of like a razor, and you're going around the edges and stuff. Now, if you were trying to do that with a piece of paper, it would be very, very difficult. So you have to do it on oak tag for the best results, okay? You got to have like leather glue, so that way you can glue the seams down. You're never going to take a serger to a leather seam or anything like that. And you're going to want the seams to be very straight, so that way they're easier to glue down and hammer down, so that it's flat and so that it's solid, okay? Now, when it comes to grading your patterns, and let's say you're working with a professional grader or whatnot, anytime you grade a leather pattern, of course, oak tag. That means that you never have a marker. Nonsense. When you do apparel, you have grading done, and then you have a marker created. You would never have a marker for a leather garment, because a leather garment doesn't come on a roll. It doesn't come by the width, it comes by the square foot, and it comes like a skin. So it's like it's irregular. So there's no way to get a marker made for something like that. Okay. So I hope that that makes sense. I know you guys probably have a ton of questions. Maybe. You might have a ton of questions, not really sure yet, but if you do, I'm going to, of course, answer them all. So let's start with the top. Tell us your top 3 or 4 leather suppliers you mentioned today during the show. I like Global Leathers. I like United Leathers. And Grupo Mastro is my other, and I'm going to throw in District Leathers as well. Those are my top 3 or 4. I'm interested in designer scraps of leather, such as Gucci or Chanel or Louis Vuitton. Do you have a contact that has these scraps? No, and I honestly wouldn't recommend getting scraps of those fabrications, because if you use anything from those fabrications, that is called copyright infringement. So I'd stay away from trying to get Gucci, Chanel, or Louis Vuitton, because you're stepping into a different world there, and it can be a legal thing. So I would focus on doing your own or creating your own monogram or some sort. You can get leather printed as well. You can get leather embossed, debossed, and stuff like that. But I probably would stay away from trying to work with other designer fabrics, because it's also not authentic, nor is it like super duper creative when you use other people's stuff. So, are you saying a home sewing machine can sew a soft and lightweight leather? Yes, it can. Long as you're using a leather needle and a Teflon foot, yes, it can. And then you can get a couple more ideas. In the book, it'll tell you what type of needle to actually get. I don't remember off the top of my head, but here it is. You would need a leather HLL or an NTW, a sharp HM or HJ, and then the sizes that you would need is a 70-10 or a 90-14. Like I said, go get this book. All right. Do you have a way to stop leather from releasing into my car seats or rubbing off? So leather does bleed. What you would need to do is, and this is like a really quick trick, is get some non-fray spray. So just like how denim frays and denim bleeds as well, if you was to spray it with some starch, or if you was to actually spray it with a non-fray spray, it stops it from bleeding and stuff as much. Okay. Does the washable leather wrinkle, and where do I get them from? So the washable leather does wrinkle, but it's supposed to be tight, the garment and stuff. It already has like a texture to it. So it already has like a wrinkling effect. And unfortunately, they are exclusively LC Apparel Consulting. So you would need to come to us in order to get this. Okay. Which of the leathers you mentioned today are perfect for slouchy, non-structural leather bags? Napa. So you can use the Caprice Napa, the Borello Napa. You could even use this one, which is the Castle one. So any lamb bag is good for slouchy, small bags. Which of the leathers you mentioned today are perfect for? So yeah. Any lamb, any Napa is good for like slouchy bags. All right. I hope that was helpful and that you guys got a lot from the show today. I think we got everyone's questions. Are there any more before we go ahead and exit out? Nope, there are not. So just to recap, let's recap one more time. Suede, cowhide, Napa are the three. Suede, cowhide, and leather are the main fabrics associated with leather. Now, they differ based on the country of origin in which they're coming from. They differ when it comes to finishings, and then they differ when it comes to thickness. So lighter ones, anything between a 1 and a 1.3 is ideal for clothing. Anything between a 1.3 and a 1.5 is ideal for handbags, belts, and shoes. And that's pretty much it. Remember that you need to have X-Acto knives, and you need to have leather equipment when working with leather. It is a good idea to keep seams flat, to sandwich them together. So instead of you putting, let's say this was a seam, instead of you putting these together like this and sewing straight down, it's better for you to sew it like this and do a zigzag stitch across here. That's a great way as well. Don't ever take a serger to leather. That is not nice. And that is too much needle for it to handle. Make sure you have leather glue in stock. Make sure you do your items on oak tag. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, and use starch or non-fray spray to stop it from bleeding. That's it. It can be printed, it can be pleated, it can be dyed, it can maintain any fabric manipulation technique you want, it can be quilted. So there, the possibilities are endless there. So I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you in December as this is our final episode for this season. So peace out, guys. Have a wonderful day.
So then I said to him, you ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need.
Doug, can we talk about something other than work? It's the weekend.
Yeah.